I've decided to come back and work on this image to add more to it. One of the joys of doing art sometimes is adding layers, and that's what I'm planning on doing with this. If you would like to watch, wonderful, I'd love for you to. And I will speed it up and make it much quicker unless you love watching those kind of things. And if you do, let me know, and in future ones I'll slow it back down to the normal speed. I spent a lot of time, it's been a while since I made the first video, thinking about what these meant to me. And so I'll cover those quickly with you. This first one here on the end kind of reminds me of the sun. You see the circle here, and the rays coming out from the sun. And one of the things in my memory was that sun was just beautiful, peeking through the branches from the trees. It was really quite lovely. And then here, it looks kind of like bugs, and maybe lightning bugs, maybe ladybugs. But that was also one of the things that fascinated me. And over here, it looks like a kitty cat, with their eyes. They go down like this instead of round pupils like we have. And there's a little nose, and here's whiskers. Over here are butterfly parts. Like here's part of the wing, here's part of the butterfly, and the same thing over here. Here's part of a wing, part of a butterfly. And in the very center, one of the things that was most important to me were the flowers. They were everywhere, and they were so fragrant and beautiful. Here is the greenery, the tendrils from the different trees and flowers and grasses and ivies. And that was always something I found very fascinating. Now down here, it's sideways, but it doesn't matter, really, because this is kind of abstract. It's a heart. And if you put it this way, you can definitely see it's a heart. But in order to help it along a little bit, I've drawn in little hearts. But this is the love I have for it. And here are leaves. And there's some flowers coming down. And that is something that little area that I was in was filled with leaves. From the trees, the flowers, the ivy, potentially, but it was things that would, just wrap around beautifully on the trellises. And then this, because this looks like it's got structure to it, potentially man-made, this reminded me of the bench and some of the other things that were in that beautiful area. So I just wanted to cover that with you quickly so you can see how each little section has a meaning. I went in and roughed things up just a little bit, added a few things, and what I'm going to do today is I'm going to go in and make more of a definite outline in some of these areas and change. I'm not sure if you can see it from where you are. Maybe if I bring it closer to you, I don't know. But I've penciled in, like, here's a line that goes to here. The line goes down here, for example, just so it gives more of an appearance of, say, like a vine. So after all the stenciling is done, you can play around if you want and rough it up a little, add some more textures and things if you want, and then go in and look at where you stenciled. You can leave it where you stenciled, but go in and look and see if you want to refine any areas or maybe extend out a few areas. Say, for example, here on this bug, I have taken this teardrop shape, inverted teardrop shape, and I've elongated it out to where it touches the eye. So if you want to, you can do a few things like that, which will kind of enhance what it is you're trying to show. That a little bit more, or maybe a dash of realism. How's that? Like here with the sun, I've taken these shapes and added just a little bit more length to it so it looks more potentially like the rays of the sun. Okay? Now there's much more that I'm going to do with this, so I will speed it up and make it much quicker. I will probably go in with another layer and maybe refine these edges some, or you can see where this is thinner. I might thicken that up a little. It all depends on how it looks, and that's something you should take into consideration if you do something like this. It is a work in progress. You know, even if you do thumbnails, it's better to let things flow and create changes as you go if you find that it works well. And if you find it's better without it, then don't do it. And it's something that you're not really going to know ahead of time, even if you do the thumbnails. Now you could say scan this and put it in the computer and put it in something like Photoshop and alter it that way, you know, just a little bit to see if you like how it looks. But I have grown to love this process because when you feel something and you put it down, it usually works out the way you want it to or very close to it. Or you find a happy accident kind of thing and it leads you onto another time of expanding creatively, I guess you could say. So I'm going to go in and touch up with the Sharpie to show you how it would look. I love Sharpies. They work so well. Let me give that a go and see if that'll work on this. Now, mind you, I don't know if you can tell by looking, but the surface is pretty rough, which is something I was hoping for because I wanted to give that impression of this being around a while. So let's see. Well, yeah. Okay, you know that little line that goes down from a cat's nose to their mouth. So see how this looks. And now, like I said, because of some of the rough areas, it might not come out cleanly, but that's fine. And one of the things that I don't always do, but I really do enjoy, and it is pretty creative, and it's to not erase the pencil lines. Because believe it or not, that actually enhances the project you're doing. Not always, but oftentimes. Yeah, see, you can see where using a Sharpie will make a very nice line. Yeah, you see how nice that looks? Sharpies are awesome. Very good. The Sharpie blends in quite well with this color, so you don't see a big variation. But say if you have a black Sharpie and you have a different color here, you could extend this out down one of the lines to make it look like that's deliberately what you wanted it to do. You know, if you want to, it's just a idea. There we go. So see how easy that is? That's one part done. And let me do this side. There's a little rough spot. Do this one a little bit differently. Here's another piece right here, so I'll go ahead and do this. And I might very well go over some of this with the paint too. So you can see here where it definitely looks like it is part of the image. Now, this is one of the parts that I sponged over with a lighter color, so I'll probably just leave that alone. But since this is a work in progress and there's a lot of play involved, You can really do whatever tickles your fancy. So I'm just adding the partial outline. This is something that I will need to use paint for, but I wanted more definition right here because this is a swirl. So I'll probably need to go in with some paint and enhance that. Now the kitty cat, there's a little bit here, okay? Like, I guess I should start with the nose. And all I'm trying to do, because remember, this is kind of abstract. No, it's a lot of abstract. All I'm trying to do is create something that's a little bit whimsical, but where it makes it a little bit easier maybe to tell what it is. And no, it doesn't have to be anatomically correct in any way. Now here, that's supposed to be a whisker. This has a lot more that I'm gonna do to evolve it into what I want it to be. But I don't think it's gonna take too long. Have that about right. Okay. And these are not supposed to be perfectly symmetrical. It's just what feels right to you. And that's upside down, but wait till I turn around, you'll be able to see the kitty cat coming together. Okay, let's see, anything else? It looks really whimsical. If you use your imagination, you can tell that that might be a kitty cat. Okay, so over here, I was extending these inverted teardrop shapes so they would look like the antenna of the bug. And with the stencils, you'll have these little, like, parts right there, where of course are not cut all the way out because they'd fall through. So you can just go in and take your brush or your Sharpie or whatever it is that you're using to color that in. Alrighty. And then I was going to, you probably can't see it, but I have the pencil lines here. Okay. And right here, I was going to bring these two together. To me, it looked a little better like that. So I'm going to want to color that in like that. Alrighty. So there's the bug. Over here we have the sun. And it's got a little bit of work that needs to be done to it. Okay, so now you can see here's the round of the sun. Thank you so much for everybody who loves to hear me talk. When I paint, sometimes I just love to communicate about what I'm thinking about. You know, what I'm painting, why I'm doing what I'm doing. So I really appreciate it when y'all let me know that you like that. If you've ever done projects, have you ever gotten partway done and thought, oh, I think I should do this to it or do that to it? I will do that a lot of times, not always, but a lot of times. And this is one of those. I decided I was going to go ahead and take these circles and make them teardrop shapes because I thought it really flowed well. Here you have a line, here you have a line, that kind of thing. And bring those in because these are the lines that were not completed because it was a stencil. And if you want to leave it that way, that's great. This is just something that I was thinking about and decided to do. Now I have a lot of changes I plan on doing to this, and some of this is just to show you that, you can have something and just keep layering it and keep working on it, changing, adding, and it ends up with something really interesting. And it can also be therapeutic. in its own way. I guess this would be like the opposite of minimalism, where you put something just a little bit. You think it through, you put this little bit and you're done. Here, this is thinking it through, adding more, maybe taking some off, and then repeating that process until you feel like you've got it all done. And part of the reason for this layering is because of what it means to me. And if you make something like this, what it could mean to you. This is, memories of, for me, my childhood. It could be anything for you, but if it's years, how many layers do you have of years? Of changes, additions, moves, children, etc. So this is kind of that process. Or by the time this is done, it could be multimedia. It could be, like right now, using a Sharpie. And I was even thinking about adding some beadwork, some dangles to this. I love my dangles. Now, mind you, with the paint, you're not going to see the black the way you do here. I'm just darkening it really so you can see it from there, because the pencil, I'm sure it's not going to show up. These Sharpies, the ultra fine point, do have a very nice tip on them, which makes making, a fine line really a lot easier. And remember, it's not supposed to be perfect. On the butterflies, their little antenna, love that. And this did not have a body, because it's actually, it was part of the stencil, but I'm turning it into the butterfly, so there's a butterfly body. Ta-da! Down here. Okay. There we go. Okay, and here's one of the parts that I covered up that I'm putting back in. And by using these stencils that I used, it really does make this a lot easier. Stencils are not difficult to use at all. All right, let's see. How do we look there? All right. I think that's pretty much all we need to do there. But I think with the paint, I should probably add a little bit more depth. Add some darker areas so it can blend in a little better. Butterflies are just so beautiful, and they give such a light, airy feel. But we don't want this to be washed out. We want it to be able to hold its own. So we need to add some more. Now, here on the leaves, I decided to go ahead and complete the leaves, at least a few of them. Okay, there's that. All right, and then I thought, put a line down here. And I wanted to bring this out. And the way the stencil was, it does kind of go just like this, straight-ish line, and then goes out. But I wanted to make it go out a little bit more. So I did draw that in, but again, pretty sure you won't be able to see what I'm doing there. Okay. So on here, make that line. Now, the same thing applies to the leaves as the butterflies, but not to as much of a degree because there's more dark in it. But this looks kind of washed out, as do the butterflies. So I need to add a little bit of darker color So these two don't look washed out at some point, okay? There. Now onto the hearts. Like I said, remember it's this way and you can definitely see it's a heart. But I already have this done, and every other one looks fine the way it is. And this one even looks fine the way it is. It doesn't have to be hearts. It could just be swirls. It could just be a design. It could be anything you imagine it to be. But for me, it really is a heart. And if you're using a paintbrush, it'd be just like taking your paintbrush, making a daub this way and a daub that way, and that makes a heart. So what I've done, and I'll Sharpie these in so you can see them, so they're very easy to make. And I just put them a little bit random here and there and about. Like this one's upside down. There's one that's sideways. And no, they do not have to be perfect in any way, shape, or form, okay? And this is mostly just to show people that there really are hearts here. And when they get painted in, they'll look different than what they look here. Kind of make that look a little bit like a heart shape. I know if I have trouble seeing these pencil lines, you probably do too. There. Okay. So now we pretty much have everything drawn in. So we can go through with some paint and just quickly fill it in. It doesn't have to be anything, you know, that takes a tremendous amount of time, because this is loose. It's supposed to be easy and enjoyable, okay? Let's get what color? Let's see, a little bit of this. See how easy that is? It doesn't take much skill at all. It might take a little bit of a steady hand, and even that, not too much. There you go. Now see how much that has changed that. And remember, one of the biggest things is enjoy yourself. Sometimes it's easier to turn your canvas around or your paper around to paint. Especially if you're going to you don't want to push on your canvas too much, because it could damage the canvas. You don't want to do that, I don't think. Okay, how's that? All right, so here's this. Let's see. Oh my goodness, look at that. That looks so much different. Okay. Okay, got that and that. Maybe a little bit there. Let's see, what else do we have? Okay. That's really all we need there, that I can see at least right now. Okay. Let's see about our little bug. Our ladybug, our lightning bug. Yeah, that's a good color. We can always change it as we go if we want. Okay. We might need need to wait for these to finish drying and add a second coat. If we want to. Okay, let's come on over here to the sun. Now with this one, kind of like right here, I like that thin line here, and I like the thin line here, so I think I should just, for now, leave this part down here in the Sharpie because it makes just the perfect color. It blends in very well. Oopsie. And if you do what I just did, just rinse out your brush, get the water off, and watch this. Magic. Ta-da! Comes right up. As I've been working on this, I've been looking. I think it would be better if I just took this off and made these little like points, you know, little rays coming out from the center. Let me get a little bit of this done real quick. There. Okay. See anything else? Okay, now that looks good. See if I can get one of these to come out for you. I gotta do this. I can't not do this. There. Better. Okay. I always want to clean out those brushes. Okay. I'll talk to you again soon. Bye.